Okay, so before we begin, I want to throw out a brief disclaimer about the thumbnail or title of this video. Yes, as long as this is going to be a spoiler-free video, but there are going to be a couple of things that I kind of touch on in a broad sense, like case in point, the question, does this movie tie in with the first film? Yes. Okay, kind of things like that. I'm not going to spoil character deaths, key moments that happen. I'm not going to spoil huge things. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to kind of briefly tap on some very, very broad questions. So if that's too spoilery for you, then you can come back after seeing the film. But in general, I'm not even really doing minor spoilers, just kind of those very broad question things. So just keep that in mind. Also, I went to a AMC fan event for this film. Surprisingly, even though that there were earlier showtimes than that fan event, I don't know why I would have thought that would have been the launch showing, but regardless, I went, it was fun, I got a lot of cool swag that, I hate saying that term, but I mean, loot, booty, you may say, whatever. I got a lot of cool shit from this movie that I will go over with at the end of the video. But for starters, we're getting into my Alien Romulus review. Let's get into it.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Okay, so if you didn't know, I love space horror. Whether you're talking about the Alien franchise, John Carpenter's thing, technically not space horror, Event Horizon, Pandorum, even going all the way back to 1950s, The Terror from Beyond Space. I love space horror. And there's not a lot of it, believe it or not. And what there is, a lot of it is schlock. So when you get good space horror, it's kind of rare. You don't get it very often, but it's nice when you do. And so I've been really looking forward to this movie for a long time. And yes, Alien is one of my 3 all-time favorite franchises, along with Predator and Terminator. I have all the Alien films, prequels included. Of those 3 franchises, the only film I don't have is Prey, and that's only because I'm trying to find a 4K copy of it that's not $40. So, I'm a huge fan of these 3 franchises. And so, after watching this film, I would say that when talking about the Alien fandom, there are people, diehards, in the fandom for this franchise that are of the opinion there's only 2 movies in this franchise, Alien and Aliens. I would be willing to say that those diehard fans, after seeing this, might actually acknowledge that there is a 3rd Alien film. Not all of them, but I think quite a few of them will, because they did a really good job on this movie. I saw this with my girlfriend. She had just seen the first one prior to seeing this, and she was of the opinion she liked Alien Romulus better than the very first Alien. Now, I have to see it a few more times to be able to truly definitively say this. I think I kind of liked Alien Romulus a little bit better than the first one as well. I understand that's sacrilegious for some Alien fans to hear that, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with this movie. But those issues, I will get to that. Granted, one of the reasons why I think the diehards will acknowledge this more than other Alien films is we are looking at Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, or Covenant, Alien Covenant. those don't quite feel 100% in the world of Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3. This one does. This one kind of feels like it's using the same tech. It does feel newer, admittedly, because of the film quality, but it does use like the same retro technology that you saw in the first Alien and Aliens, and one, I've been missing that for a long time. I really appreciate they brought that back. If I was making this, I would have been tempted to have filmed this in like a 1986 film grade quality to try and match the original one, since I'm having it take place in between the first and second one. But that's just me. Grant, hearing about this movie from the build-up, I was kind of getting nothing but green flags from this film. Whether you're talking about like the director and writer, you look at their filmography. I can't remember the writer's name. Fede Álvarez is the director of this. You look at their filmography, everything they've done, and like, there's not really a dog shit project in his repertoire. There may be something that a person doesn't like or whatnot, but there's nothing that's like truly objectively terrible, like I'm seeing with some people on some upcoming projects. So that was the first green flag. The other green flag was he was saying we are pushing for practical effects. If we can do a scene practically, we're going to do a scene practically. That was one of my biggest gripes with Alien Covenant, is the alien was 150% CGI. There was no practical alien whatsoever in that film, and it kind of sucked because of it. The alien, I mean. The film's okay. I wouldn't say the film's terrible, but it's okay. I should do a video on that film eventually at some point. The other green flag that I heard coming on preparation for this film is that not only were they pushing for practical effects, they also managed to get some of the people who worked on the practical effects of 1986's Aliens back on this film to work on the practical effects here. So it was like kind of having the same DNA as the original movies, with having some of the same effects guys who worked on that film working on this film. That was like a big green flag for me. But then like kind of the two like green flags that just like pushed this over the top in like my anticipation for this was, one, in interviews with the cast, they were talking about how like their love for this franchise, and even like the lead actress, she had mentioned in an interview that like she had all of the Alien films playing on the background whenever she was in her trailer, just so she would be in like the right mood when filming commenced. And it's just like, I want to find that actress and scream at her, thank you. Too fucking long has it been that we've gotten an actor that actually treats the source material with respect. If I hear one more actor fucking say, I didn't look at any of the source material because I wanted to make this my own thing, I am going to fucking throw something through my TV screen, okay? Like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing that. And so when I heard this actress actually say, oh yeah, I wanted to make sure that I was in the right mindset, so I just had all the Aliens films playing on repeat in my trailer, it was just like, thank you. Same thing with the director, Fede Álvarez. When he said in an interview, when he was writing this film, he had the Alien fan Wikipedia called Cinopedia consistently open off to the side of where he was writing scripts, so that he could consistently check it for any technical mistakes, any contradictory things. He didn't want to retcon anything unnecessarily, and he just basically didn't want to piss off the fans, so he had the fan Wikipedia up all the time. And it's just like, again, I want to find Fede Álvarez and scream at him, thank you. Because just way too many people, like, if the Halo television series had even half of this respect, we would be getting a season 3 and people would be lauding it. But no, they want to make it their own thing. So, like, I really was excited for this simply because of the respect that the director and the cast were showing for this film. And definitely, you can tell Fede Álvarez is a massive fan of this franchise. Kind of a good idea, any future Legacy sequel, to actually have, like, the guy making it, you know, be a fan. I mean, like, this movie definitely felt like a love letter to Alien films. It felt like a fan doing his best to make a decent Alien film. And, like, next Legacy film probably won't have this. It's like, maybe we should start having, like, people who love the source material making these Legacy sequels. I felt like he did a good attention to the lore and quality of the first film. It definitely felt like a plausible sequel to the original Alien. Now, one thing I did not like, and it's not necessarily with the movie, it's with the advertising campaign. I did not like how much was spoiled in the trailers. One could make the argument that the trailers didn't spoil everything, but looking back at some of the trailers, I kind of felt they showed a little bit too much, and probably should have been more along the lines of the first Alien film. Well, the trailers really don't show anything. I understand the hypocrisy of me using trailer footage in this video, but, you know, moving on. So, in terms of, like, the synopsis of this, do I really need to tell you what the story's about? I mean, I've seen some people, they kind of get a little bit too much carried away explaining what the story's about. You got a crew of people, you got aliens trying to kill them. Go in as fresh as possible, okay? You don't need to know anything terribly specific, because you should go into this as fresh as humanly possible. So I'm not going to tell you the story of the crew of the Core Band. I think it's called the Core Band. And, like, you know, what they're trying to do. It's interesting. It's kind of something a little bit fresh and different, and so I did like that. It's not the exact same thing as, like, the space truckers from the first one. So just humans running from aliens. Enjoy. Now, does this movie explain how the alien returns from the first film? Kind of. You know, like, I would have liked a better explanation. I mean, if you kind of put two and two together, it's like, okay, I guess that's how it's done, but they don't really explain it. And I'll get into a little bit later, like, why I didn't like this, but just for the most part, it does kind of explain how the alien returns from the first one, just not to my liking. Another question that some people are probably asking is, do I have to play Alien Isolation before seeing this? No. The director definitely used Alien Isolation as, like, a DNA bookmark of, like, the feel he wanted for this movie, and you can see some of Alien Isolation's DNA in this movie, especially with some of the little Easter eggs in this film. But for the most part, like, no, you don't have to play a video game to be able to enjoy this film, because that was kind of a concern I had. It's like, do I have to watch Alien and then play Alien Isolation to be able to enjoy this? Because technically Alien Isolation happens before this movie, but it's unconnected. So, at least as far as I know, I'm still halfway in playing Alien Isolation. So, one thing I will say is it does kind of help the experience a little bit better to watch the first one before watching this. If you've seen the first one a million times, then you can probably go into this, but it's just kind of fun to, like, refresh on the first one before seeing this. Just like a little, like, friendly tip. I mean, you can watch this independently without seeing the first one. It's kind of a better experience if you do. Now, something that I felt was a little unexpected is they do reference the prequels at one point in this movie, which I didn't think was going to happen. I thought, like, they were trying to get as far away from the two prequel films as possible, and, like, apparently no, they straight up did, like, a reference to the prequel, so that was kind of cool. Now, throughout this movie, there are some blatant like callbacks and like memory berries, nostalgia things that they do, and then there's some like excellent subtle ones. Some of the blatant ones, for the most part, overall, I loved all of it. Some of the blatant ones, I will acknowledge, if they had removed it, the movie probably would be better for it. But some of the subtle ones, it's like, oh, that's clever. I got that reference, you know. And then some like worked, you know, like I won't spoil it, but there's just like this one line that someone utters from Aliens that makes sense. It's like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. And then there's another line uttered from the second one that it's supposed to be like a crowd pleasing moment, but it's just like, I don't think that would have been said, because in the second one that was like in the heat of the moment, and I don't think that would have been said here. So anyway, some of the callbacks I really did like. Some of them I thought was a little messy. So, you know, when you see it, you can decide if I'm right or wrong about that. So the Corbelan, which is, or Korriban, I don't know how it's pronounced, but the crew of that ship, I kind of liked. I felt they were better developed than some other crews in other Alien films. They're not the greatest, okay? Still, the best crews are like the first film or the Colonial Marines in the second one. But I would say probably third best, like, crew. That being said, as much hate as Alien Resurrection gets, the crew of the Betty was pretty awesome. So, I don't know, maybe the Betty had a better crew than the Korriban. So, I don't know. I'll have to watch Alien Resurrection again after Romulus to see if I like that ship crew better than the ship crew in this film. Now, one of the big questions I had going into this is, I apologize if I slur her name, but Kaylee Spanley, I think it's her name. Was she just going to be a blatant Ripley clone? I mean, let's be honest. Most of these films, if it doesn't have Ripley, has a Ripley clone. Probably the least Ripley clone feeling was Lex from Alien vs. Predator. But like with some of the other films, like, okay, Noomi Rapace, if I'm pronouncing her name right, Elizabeth Shaw in Prometheus, she felt a little bit like a Ripley clone, but they gave her enough of a personality that she didn't feel too much like a Ripley clone. But then you got characters like, I think her name's Elizabeth Watterson from Alien Covenant. Like, she was just a flat-out Ripley clone, and probably the worst one being whatever her name is from Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Like, that was just one of the most blatant Ripley clones ever. So, how is Kaylee, or her character's name is Rain, how is Rain as a Ripley clone? For the most part, she's okay. There was a few scenes I kind of got a little bit too much, but they do a good enough job of making her feel different enough from Ripley that it doesn't feel like a blatant ripoff of Ripley. And one thing that really helps is like the relationship she has with Andy, the character of Andy, which is played by David Johnson. Hands down, David Johnson as Andy was the standout in this movie. He completely stole the show because he got to really like test his range from playing like almost two different characters in this movie as the role of Andy. And so I really liked his performance in this. He did a really excellent job, and the dynamic between the character of Rain and him was kind of the heart of the story, and I did like that. I did enjoy Rain and Andy and their relationship together. That being said, some of the other characters don't get a lot of development, and that's unfortunate, because if you're talking about Alien films, the best Alien films are the ones that have really excellent development with the characters, and you don't really get that 100% here. Let's be honest, if you really wanted to empathize with these characters, this should have been the length of Aliens, not the length of Alien. If that makes sense. James Cameron likes his movies long. Now, I will acknowledge that the chestburster scene in this one, outshines the chestburster scene in the original Alien. Now, obviously, you're talking about a difference of like 40 plus years of practical effects technology. I mean, they were going to make some enhancements, and so with 40 years of experience under their belt, yeah, the chestburster scene was going to look so much better than the original one. And like looking at a lot of the practical effects they did in this, they are for the most part a lot better than the first one. Simply because, again, you got that 45 plus years on top of the last film that this is a sequel to. So obviously there's going to be some really excellent practical effects advancements that they've made since then. Like, yeah, the practical sets of the Romulus station are incredible. Like, actually seeing the actors running through a realistic hallway, it's great not seeing them on a green screen all the time, or just having it all on a volume stage. So, like, the creature effects, the practical sets, they all work great. I loved actually seeing a practical alien on the big screen. It was great. Definitely what they needed in Alien Covenant, which is the last Alien film that was released in theaters. And so it's really nice actually seeing a physical alien by an actor. It was just, you know, like, just chef's kiss. Now, something that they were really trying to push, that this was going to be as much practically effects driven as humanly possible. There was only going to be like 5% CGI in this movie. In reality, it's more like 55% of the film was practically done and 45% of the film was CGI. So I appreciate the heavy use of practical effects. I don't want to condemn them for using more CGI than they kind of promised, because I think for the most part there was only a couple of shots that like sucked, and you know, I'll get into that in a little bit, but for the most part they did a good job with practical effects and not relying too much on CGI, especially since apparently the budget for this before marketing was 80 million. And looking at this movie, like, they did a good job squeezing every penny out of that 80 million. This felt like a $300 million movie at times, especially with some of the practical sets. And probably something that helps with the high quality feel is the cinematography and lighting. There's some really excellent camera work in this film, and there's some really great use of lighting in this film as well. I really appreciate that. I'm not really a cinematography expert, but I do like to acknowledge it anytime I do see it and it looks good in a film. Now, something the movie does that I did like is they introduced some new aspects to the xenomorph that we've never really seen before, like with the way its life cycle works. Apparently there's a process we hadn't seen before, and then like they've also introduced kind of like a new element with the face huggers that, yeah, makes perfect sense, and like just no one beforehand questioned it in any of the other Alien movies, which makes sense because everyone's running from them. But this time it's like, oh, that's a thing with them? It kind of makes sense. I don't see why it wouldn't. Like, just, I never thought to question that. And so it leads to like this really interesting like cat and mouse thing they do with facehuggers that I thought worked great. And so like definitely Fede Álvarez does some really clever things with the alien xenomorph species in this movie that we just haven't really seen before, and I kind of like it. And then they also introduced some really crazy bold concepts. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a mixed bag with people. I think some people are going to absolutely love this. I think some people are going to absolutely hate this. But there was just like some, oh, you're going that route. Okay, I think I like it. And so I can't get into more details than that, but just there are some new things like, hey, we're going to try this on the audience for size. What do you guys think? And I think for the most part, a lot of the audience is going to go, okay, let's see where this goes. And there are going to be some people who don't like this. It's just time will tell. Now, the zero-G sequence, there is a sequence involving zero-G gravity that is amazing. Like, seriously, when I saw in the trailer, like, someone floating through COG, I'm just like, oh, they've never done anything with zero gravity before. That'd be kind of cool, actually. Like, man, this would be really awesome. I wonder if they're going to do something that really capitalizes on COG, and they do, and it is freaking amazing. It is, like, one of the best scenes of the entire movie, especially, like, the aftermath of it is amazing. It's like, wow, this was easily, like, the best scene of the movie for today, hands down. And I totally see people, like, throwing this one scene in particular in, like, their lists whenever they make them of, like, the top 10 best scenes in the Alien franchise. This definitely is going to have a place in that top 10 list. Maybe even top 5. Now, they attempted to do something that was done in another Aliens film that I didn't like in that other Aliens film. And when they attempted to do it here, it's like, okay, you're doing this again. It's not as terrible. I'll go with it. And so, I don't know how I ultimately feel about this thing they did that they took from another Aliens film. Ultimately, I'll say that it was done better than that other Aliens film, but at the same time, I was kind of expecting something different to happen that I thought would be really cool, but they didn't do it. And so, and I was thinking this because I've been reading, like, the Marvel Alien comics recently, and, like, I was thinking, are they going to do this? Are they going to do this? That'd be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. And I could totally see this being a secret. And, like, no, they don't do that. Okay. I was getting my hopes up for nothing. So, yeah. Now, on to, like, my criticisms of this film. One of my biggest problems with this movie, and I really tried to, like, forgive it, but I couldn't. There's a few actors in this movie that have a very thick Cockney British accent, and they are almost impossible to understand. Now, this could have been a sound mixing issue with the theater. The speakers were a tad loud at the theater I was at, and so, like, the music could be a little bit too loud, and this may not be an issue when I finally see this in my living room, and they've had some time to fix some of the sound mixing issues, but, like, holy hell, I could not understand 70% of what these Brits were saying. And they were mentioning, like, really crucial things, like, oh, by the way, the gravity does this, and it does this for this reason at this time. And it's like, I feel like that was important, and we can't rewind it. And so, like, I have no idea what they were talking about. And, like, this happens way too much in this movie. Honestly, I don't like having subtitles on during a movie because I can't pay attention to the screen when I'm watching a movie. This was a movie, like, 10 minutes in, I was like, can we turn on the subtitles? Because I cannot understand half of these characters. And that's a problem. Okay? I mean, the audience needs to be able to understand them. At least get English, like, there are certain dialects of English, King's Speech English that you can understand. It's perfectly fine. And then there's dialects, like, if they had Benedict Cumberbatch in this, I would be able to understand him just fine. Instead, they had Ozzy Osbourne in this, and it was just, like, mumbling from one character, like, fuck you just say? That's how I felt through a large portion of this movie. So obviously going through this movie again, when I watch it again, it'll be interesting to watch it with subtitles and just like, okay, that's what they were saying. Now, in this movie, there is a cameo from another Alien film that just felt right, but really could have been done a lot better. Like, they do, like, this deep fake thing on this cameo that just does not look good. Like, I've seen better deep fakes by a YouTube content creator with an 80th of this budget. And it's just like, seriously, guys, the rest of the movie looks good. I expected more out of this. Like, it doesn't look that great, and it should have looked good, especially with other things, with involving deepfakes. That's like, yeah, I've seen this done better on YouTube with a box of scraps. Like, Tony Stark could build this in a cave with a box of scraps. You guys should be able to do it. And then that leads into this exposition dump that happens close to the halfway point. Seriously, this should have been stretched out. Like, they do this huge exposition dump that doesn't really work that great in like a minute. And all this information should have been given to the audience across the span of like 10 minutes. So, like, seriously, Fede, you should have added like 10 minutes and just stretched this exposition dump out a little bit more, because they breeze by some crucial need-to-know information in like one sentence with like another, like there's like 7 paragraphs in this 1 minute of runtime of this exposition dump, and you just can't take it all in. And this is like crucial need-to-know stuff. I actually, after watching this movie at the theater, I pulled up a bootleg online to like watch that one scene again, and it's like, yeah, I missed that part, I missed that part, I missed that part, and it was just a really bad exposition dump. One of the worst, possibly, I've seen in a long time. Another thing I did not like, and this was a big one, is the Romulus station, the location of this film. This could be considered a spoiler, but I don't think so, because they never touch on it. They never explain how this station got in this situation. They never explain how this station fell, how it got in a situation, why it's adrift, why it's abandoned. They never explain this. And I'm like, the entire movie, it's like, are we going to... We're almost done. Are we going to get like someone popping in like, this is why the station fell or whatnot? And come to find out, watching that terrible exposition dump scene, they do kind of explain it in like a blink and you'll miss it sense. It's just like, seriously, Fede, you should have elaborated on this better. Because like, the first time I saw this movie, I was thinking, I wonder how this station fell. Like, I wonder how this station got in this situation. And first time I saw the movie, I didn't know that. And then when I went back and saw that terrible exposition dump scene, literally, it's like 5 words in a sentence, smashed in the middle of like 2 full run-on sentence paragraphs. It's just like, wait, that's it? That's how the station felt? Like, that's it? It's just like, maybe the prequel comic that's coming out in October will show this. So, I don't know. And then, this is the fanboy in me, but this movie does cause an issue with aliens, especially since, like, the Romulus station, which is the location of this film, is owned by Weyland-Yutani. And Aliens takes place after this, and in Aliens, they're kind of acting like, well, we've never gotten our hands on this creature before. And now that I've seen Alien Romulus, I'm just like, when I watched that movie again, I'm just like, do you guys not remember Romulus Station? Like, seriously, like, this seems like a massive continuity issue. And I don't know how they're going to fix this, because it's like, yeah, it'd be nice if we could get this specimen, and like Romulus station is flying behind him. It's like, it's a shame we never had a space station where we had complete control over this for a while. Yeah, real shame. It's just like there's a serious continuity error here with Alien Romulus and Aliens, like the follow-up. So that needs to be explained, man. Like, seriously. Yeah, I definitely want to see a director's cut to this or a sequel to this, because I had a fun time with this. It was an excellent movie, but had some issues that prevented it from being a masterpiece. And I really tried to overlook those issues, because I really wanted to say, hey guys, this is a masterpiece. It's not quite. There's just a couple lingering issues that could have been avoided, honestly. Like, these aren't even terribly huge. Just get better English-speaking actors and, you know, like, stretch out this one exposition dump and, you know, like, just explain a couple more things, and this probably could have been a masterpiece, guys. But no, they just made a couple of mistakes. They're forgivable mistakes. I'm not saying this is an unwatchable movie because of those few mistakes. No, this is an excellent film. I like this movie. I still am on the fence if I liked it better than the first one. In my mind, the best Alien movie is Aliens. 1986's Aliens. And that's still the king. Coming out of the theater, I was like straight up, okay, Aliens is still better than this movie. I don't know if I like this better than the first Alien, though. Definitely faster paced than the first one. The first one is like a slow burn movie. So I need to watch this one again in comparison with the first Alien movie to really determine if I think this one was better. But no, this movie was excellent. I had a wonderful time watching this. It was fun watching it with someone who definitely is focal and animated during horror movies. And, no, this is definitely a movie I'm going to buy on 4K when it comes out. I'm going to watch the shit out of this movie, and I had a lot of fun with this. I would love to see what else Fede Álvarez can do with this franchise. I'd be very comfortable if 20th Century Studios announced, yeah, Fede Álvarez is going to be working on the next Alien film. It's like, yeah, I want to see what he does with that. That'd be kind of cool. So, anyway, before I go, I want to go over the cool merch that I got from this event, Alien Romulus. So, for starters, I got this awesome t-shirt from my girlfriend. She surprised me with it. I was not expecting to have this. I actually had a different Alien shirt. You've probably seen it in previous episodes, but no, she just surprised me with this. It's like, yeah, you can wear this tonight. And it's like, it's a really awesome shirt, babe. Thanks. And so I really like that. With the fan event, every person who went to this special fan event at AMC Theaters got a special collectible pin of, I think, the Dolby poster that they show. I'll pop up the actual image here of what the pin's like. And it's a cool image. I don't know where I'm going to put that pin, but definitely a cool pin. And then kind of the one cool thing is they give you a Weyland-Yutani patch. It's a rubble patch, actually. And so I was kind of hoping for a Velcro patch, but since it's rubber, I'll need to figure out what I want to put it on. I don't know if I want to put it on one of my jackets, or I don't think a t-shirt, because this definitely feels like a jacket patch. So I might want to find like a jacket that I can throw it on. Maybe I might throw on my bomber jacket. I don't know. But anyway, got that with the fan event for Alien Romulus, and so that was pretty cool. I went to the AMC theater, and they had this collectible Alien Romulus popcorn pocket with a face hugger on the outside, and like the tin actually has like a print of the first teaser poster of Alien Romulus on it, so that's pretty cool. It's a metal tin, and like the face hugger snaps on, and even some of the like digits, the mandibles, are actually articulated and you can move them. Not all of them, but you can actually like have it gripping the bucket, and so like it's pretty cool. I'm not going to try and remove it simply because they were having a hard time putting these on. They had to assemble these at the theater, and this guy behind the concessions counter, he was just like and I even had asked for another one because like the guy who did get this on, he smashed all of the fingers, like bending them against the popcorn bucket. It's like, yeah, you know, you're supposed to like hook these over the top, and he's like, oh, I didn't realize that. So now I was not expecting a lot out of this pocket when I saw it online, but no, it definitely is pretty cool looking, I have to acknowledge. If I had an Alamo Draft House near me, I would have tried getting one of those glass cups that they were selling for Alamo Draft House. And then another one that I got was the Xenomorph head. I actually went over to the Regal Theater near me because I saw that their popcorn buckets were better, and I've always wanted an alien head on the wall, and so now I kind of have one. It's a tiny one, but no, I'm very happy about this. Probably not going to put any popcorn in it, but like, it has this great stand. The only downside is the back of the head does look like a massive you-know-what. But it's going to just be facing the camera like this, so no one has to see it. But yeah, like, that thing is really awesome and gorgeous. I really liked the quality of this popcorn bucket, and some of the popcorn buckets have been getting really impressive, just like, wow. And then my girlfriend actually got me this one. She's like, hey, you want that? It's like, yes. And she's like, okay, I'll get that for you. And this one lights up, and it's pretty cool. And the top's actually a little hard to open, surprisingly, but this one has like just a center chamber that doesn't touch the lights. And yeah, no, like, that's pretty cool. The Wayland Yutani logo on this fat, and you got the little face hugger crawling out, and this thing's just absolutely awesome and gorgeous. Yeah, like, just, this thing's really cool. So thanks, babe. Yeah, but so that was my review of Alien Romulus and all the cool stuff I got for it. What did you guys think of this movie? Did you enjoy it? Say off in the comments down below. My name is Christopher Collins with 11 Hour Views, and that will be all for today.